I'd like to welcome everybody this morning to the Maudsley Charity Ask Us Anything webinar, which is an opportunity to do exactly that, ask the panel from the Maudsley Charity anything about the maternity cover role that you have showed an interest in. We have with us today Lisa Q, who is the Director of Finance and Operations. We have Elvie Morrison, Director of Fundraising and Comms, and Tanya Sutton, who is Business Support Manager. Faye Marshall is my colleague from Harris Hill, who is responsible for tech today. In case anything goes wrong, she's going to be letting people in during the webinar. This is all focused around a blind recruitment process, which gives all of you equal opportunity to present yourselves to the panel, who will be selecting you in terms of your answers to the questions that you've been sent will be looked at, and from that there will be the results of who they would like to interview. And the reason that your cameras are off and your microphone is off is so that you can ask us anything in terms of putting your questions into the chat function, but purely so that it is completely anonymous. That is the main reason for the way that we're doing it. So as part of the shortlisting process, your CVs won't be put across. As I said, it is just going to be the questions that you've been sent, and your answers will go across to the panel. So it really is ask anything you like. And that can be at a later stage after this webinar as well. I can always ask the questions. If you're not able to attend, I can ask the questions on your behalf after this webinar. So with that, over to Elvie, who's going to talk about the charity, the purpose of the role, and bits and pieces to that effect. Thanks, Elvie.
Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Elvie. I'm the Director of Fundraising and Comms at the charity. I've been here about getting on for 2 years. It's gone quickly. So yeah, let me just tell you a little bit about the charity itself. So we are a mental illness charity. We don't work directly with people themselves who are struggling with their mental health, but we work with those who do. And what we're really trying to do is make sure that everyone who needs the support for their mental health, when they're going through a very difficult patch in terms of their mental illness, that they have the right access and care that's right for them. There's lots of gaps in the system. Everybody working in the mental health system is really, what we find is extremely committed and really inspirational and yes, so dedicated. But you know, you'll know that the funding that goes into mental health from all routes is really has not been enough. And you know, as systems as is normal with systems, people fall through the gaps, and we're noticing that more and more. So what we try and do is look at how we can find solutions to mostly issues within the system to make sure that everyone has the right care and support for them. That means that we work very closely with 2 partners, but work across the whole system through community organisations as well. But our main partners are South London and Maudsley NHS Trust, of which we used to be a part of a short number of years ago, but now we're an independent charity. And so are like their critical friend, if you like. We work with them to submit bids to us, large and small, but make sure that we scrutinise those so that they are held accountable for how they spend the money. And also with the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience, which is also a partner of SLAM, South London Maudsley NHS Foundation Trust. who focus mostly on research. But there's a really lovely and unique partnership between all of us, where we hopefully support the translation of one to the other. So we want to make sure that research is the findings of research is feeding into and coming into clinical practice, and that clinical practice influences what research is being done. So we fund a huge range of activities, and you can see on our website a bit more about those. But we channel a lot of our funds through those two main partners, but are opening up to community organisations who work with people on the ground as well, because we know how important they are to people's recovery and experience as well. We focus, we have two large pots of money that we're focusing on particularly over the next 5 years, and that is to help people live well with psychosis, and also to help children and young people in their journey as well. So recently we have been working on opening and funding a big new exciting world leading new centre called the Maudsley Children and Young People, Maudsley Centre for Children and Young People, which will be a real support and revolutionise the way that children and young people with mental illness experience that and how they can move on from that. But also we've got a new fund that we're just developing now, which will help people, particularly who may be falling through the gaps, children and young people who may be falling through the gaps and maybe really need support but haven't accessed it before. So it's a really exciting time for us in terms of what we're funding. This role works with the senior leadership team. There's 4 of us, and this role specifically works with 3 of us. And that's myself, Lisa, and Rebecca Gray, who you'll have seen her picture in the pack, and she's the chief exec. We are all very busy and all have our own areas, work differently in some ways because of different areas that we work on, and each have our own styles. But we work in quite a complex environment. We punch well above our weight as a charity. And that's not just in how we're set up. So we may look like we're a small charity in terms of people, and we definitely feel that sometimes with the growth that we've had over the last few years, where we've moved from maybe with some of the policies and understanding how to work well with people, because there's been massive growth in the team. But I guess if you look at how much we're spending and our portfolio and our financial position, where we are managing huge sums of money. So we've committed over £40 million over the next 5 years into those 2 different themes that I was talking about before. But we're funding multi-million-pound projects across our partners, and we'll continue to do that. So that means that we're quite a complex organisation in ourselves. We're in this transition period where we've moved from a small team to a much bigger team, but also the partners that we work with and the system itself is really complex. So that SLAM, for example, the NHS trust that we work with, has 5,000 staff. We've got quite a good relationship with the senior team there, and we liaise with them quite a lot in terms of getting funding for very strategic projects through. But yeah, we work with complex organisations. So I guess that translates into the team. Into this role. I guess what we really need from this role, and it's maternity cover, which I guess you all know, is to help us be as effective as an SRT team as possible together, and also in our own areas. We are working on a number of different individual and collaborative projects, and that means our diary management is going to take up quite a lot of your time, and you need to be really used to that. But I guess you need really solid skills as an existing EA or PA to be able to help that to be a smooth transition, particularly because it's a maternity cover role, but also because of the the volume of work that we're dealing with on a normal basis as well. I think it's a really brilliant role to apply to because you will get a really in-depth look of how the whole system works, and I hope that you would get a sense of real satisfaction and reward and achievement by helping us be as effective as we can. I just want to run through a little bit quickly around, is this role right for me? Because it's really important for us to make sure that you understand if that's the case. We always put this in, we always do talk a little bit about this, because there's one thing putting the skills and experience that you might see on a job description in other roles, but it's really that we want to try and fill in the gaps to make sure that everyone really understands, and it helps us to really understand as well who is the right person for the role. So if we really want you to be an experience, like this isn't going to be the first time you've done an EA role, particularly because of how we work, but also that you're managing 3 busy directors' diaries as well. So it's not an entry-level role. You really need to be skilled in this area. And so you'll really have a really good sense of what those what a typical day might look like. You're able to respond to things that crop up. You're able to respond quickly to things that come in. You're able to understand, even though obviously we will absolutely help you with understanding the complex environment, you're able to understand maybe the nuances of different scenarios, and build relationships with other EAs across the trust, or across the IOPPN, the institute that I was talking about before, to be able to manage those diaries well, particularly I think for Rebecca, who has a lot of discussions with the partners herself. So where it's harder to see people's diaries because they're not in the same organisation. So you'll have probably been able you've probably had exposure of supporting multiple people at the same time, and you're confident in managing those demands of a fast-paced environment. Efficiency and productivity is going to be really important, and what we want is someone who's proactive as well. So, looking ahead, moving things before we need to suggest to move them, almost like understanding us, looking ahead in our diaries. Can you move that around? Being a brilliant reminder of things that need to get done, so that it just is one less thing for the directors to have to think about. And I think that should all be sort of normal things that you've experienced before, I hope. And I think if you're able to come in and support us in that way, you'll get such a sense of satisfaction. And, we are really open to obviously you helping us with that practicality things, but also for you saying, actually, this could work better. What about doing it this way? We want people with ideas as well, and who can not just suggest ideas, who can implement them as well. We've got a really great team who are very supportive of each other, and are really committed to what we as a charity are trying to achieve. So I think, it should be a really great environment, which is challenging in the best ways, but provides satisfaction as well. Any questions at that point, or shall we move on to the next bit?
We don't have any questions at the moment, but they might come through. I think maybe if we perhaps move straight on to Lisa, and then as questions come through, we can just ask at the end of after you've spoken, Lisa, if that's okay.
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Thanks,
Thank
Elfie.
you, Emma.
Thanks.
So for people who've just joined us since Emma gave the introduction, my name is Lisa Q. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations, and I'm one of the roles that you'll be supporting, the EA will support. I joined the charity midway through COVID. I joined in June 2020. As Elvie said, we've been changing and growing, but the charity went independent from the trust in 2019. And we've kind of reached this level where our culture is now being established. And I would describe our culture as very collegiate, very collaborative. We're really focused on learning. And I think, while Elvie said there's a lot to learn in this role, we're really supportive of our staff to learn it, but learning is a process that is proactive, and we expect everybody to be proactive in their own personal growth and learning, and asking us the right questions, and telling us what they need to know, because we don't know what is in people's heads, do we? We're very mission led. We've just agreed our change model and articulated that this year. And we're in the process of really beginning to articulate a lot more about how we work. We're very ambitious for change. We are growing and changing. We are an organisation that's still in that growth phase. And by that, I mean growing to fulfill the larger needs, not that the organisation is rapidly growing at the moment. And I would say that we are very focused on inclusion. Diversity, equity, inclusion runs through our values. It runs through all the work we do. Everybody in our organisation is responsible for living our values. So that's very important to us. In your pack, obviously, you've got a little update of our benefits, and most of those, I'm sure, will be pretty standard from roles that you've experienced or you're looking at generally. What I really wanted to talk about was our hybrid working. We've been hybrid working since you could come back to the office, in fact. We have standard hybrid working contracts. Everybody's hybrid working. That means for a full-time role, that's working between 2 or 3 days in the office. The reason we say that is we think it's really important at times to be together. We come together, the whole organisation, once a month. But we think, there are different ways of working, and different things at different times work better for other things. So in terms of our personal styles, I'm really happy online or virtual. I would say Rebecca is a very in-person sort of person, if that's not too many persons in that sentence. LV, I guess.
Yeah,
how would you describe it?
Both. I'm happy to do both, but we just did a session with my team, who's the newest team in the organisation, and we're saying as a team that we want to come in on a Tuesday morning and be in the same physical space together, because it is so important when you're new to there's just something that you don't get sometimes, isn't there, from working at home when you're new, and so we're really focusing on making sure we do that. But yeah, we're very, very hybrid. Very happy to be hybrid.
And in terms of how we work hybrid, actually, we believe everybody can flex their own time and make those plans. It's about really communicating with people where you are, how you're meeting, and being available within our core hours. So we don't tell people that they need to be in on certain days, except for the 1 day a month when we have our all team meeting. It really is up to people to make those decisions and flex it around their lifestyle. And in terms of things that happen in your life, because we know things happen, right? Boilers break. Those are kind of conversations that people flex their working day length and flex their hours across the week. And again, we fully trust our teams to do that, and expect that you all do it, but obviously keep your line managers informed of those sort of things. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of a flavour of our culture and how we work. I wanted to say a little bit about how we're collaborative, because it's hard to, that's a big word, isn't it? The EA is part of what we call informally the Secretariat group. So there's a number of people across the organisation that will be taking minutes and supporting either governance committees or cross-organisational working groups. And so that's a great opportunity to learn from your peers, obviously share your own experience and your learning with your peers. So that's one of the examples of that. The EA also joins the finance and operations group. There's a lot of kind of touch points on that. And actually, that's an opportunity to learn from peers about kind of a wider breadth of the organisation, because we talk about a lot of things that I think previous EAs have found quite interesting, but actually are not things that cross their radar very explicitly, but it adds a lot of context to their work. All staff contribute and go along to what we call our ways of working group, which is again this opportunity for us all to share learning, and it's about us working together more effectively. And Tanya, who's on the call, actually is our chair of our ways of working group. We also have a cross-organisational diversity, equity and inclusion group. That, like the ways of working group, are both action focused. So these groups come together to see what we can do differently, what we can do better, and then do it. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of our cross-organisational groups and how we work in terms of collaboration. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's a good.
Thank you, Lisa. That's great. So yes, please, any question at all. If you don't have any, then that's perfect. You know, I can talk to you after the webinar and during the process, but this is an opportunity to, even if it's a little bit sort of outside of what one would normally ask, it really doesn't matter. So just if you do have any questions, please pop them in the box and we'll be happy to pass them on for answers. So by all means, please.
Yeah, very happy to answer anything if it's that's what we were just saying before. This is the reason that we set these up, and we do these before any of our recruitments, because we don't want people to you know, there's in what has been a traditional recruitment process, people want to ask those questions that really, you know, is this the right culture, organisation, policies for me? But you sometimes don't get to know the answers to those questions until you've been offered a job. It's sort of behind the paywall sometimes, so we're really keen to find out, you know, for any potential candidates to ask us those directly. We've got really great understanding of what we're of policies, but what we're doing well and where we need to do more things. So yeah, really happy to be transparent about that.
And we recognise too that recruitment is a two-way process. So while we have great opportunities to discover about candidates all through the process, you know, we want candidates to know a lot about us, because, you know, we know people commit a lot of time and energy to applying for a role, and we want to value that by giving you all the answers that you need as early as you can in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. There is somebody typing at the moment. Oh, lovely. Okay, so a candidate has asked that obviously the knowledge is, as it is, a maternity cover, but could there be possibility of it becoming, or not necessarily the role, but perhaps something else within the organisation?
At the moment, we don't envisage opportunities coming up. Again, we're growing. We're actually at the beginning of a new strategic review period. So both the strategy and any additional resourcing in relation to that strategy still needs to be agreed by our board. So I wouldn't want to speak in advance of that and give people false expectations. At the moment, our establishment is the current establishment, and our trustees haven't agreed for any additional growth.
We're quite a flat organisation, so we don't have lots of tiers. There's only really 2 tiers at the moment, and that works well for us. But I think what I would say is I think that I would hope that doesn't stop people applying for a role, even though it's a temporary role, because I mean, we've put 9 months, I think, haven't we, on the roll. We don't, you know, there's always potential for flex on that where maternity cover's involved, but I think this is an organisation where you can really experience some really brilliant stuff. So working for, I mean, obviously I would say this, working with a great team of people, being able to influence and how things work, understanding quite a complex environment. So I think if the mental health care system is of particular interest to you, then I think this would be a really great place to get exposure to that. But particularly, Rebecca is so well connected across mental health care and healthcare in general. So there's a really brilliant experience, an opportunity there. But I think I wouldn't, of course, I think you would, from this role, you've got the real chance to develop your career, even if it's just for a short time with us. I think you would, if you can do this role with us, I think you would really gain some amazing experience to be able to, if you wanted to develop your career either in the same direction or it takes you down a different path. So I think that would be something to consider. But yeah, we are really transparent, so that's why we don't want to say, oh yes, there'll be tons of opportunities, when we don't know if that's the case.
But previous EAs, to kind of give you a sense of how they might have built their skills in their time with us, previous EAs have gone on to be general managers for charities, running the whole of the office function. So there is opportunities to learn a lot from peers and learn from what we're doing and what we need. And you know, again, there may be things that we need that you might have the skills for, but you've never done. And we would hope to, you know, support you to gain that experience if that comes up as an opportunity during the period people are working with us.
And then also in the future, if other roles do become available and somebody has been with the charity for the 9-month maternity cover, then you're always welcome to apply again in the future.
Absolutely,
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So
we advertise all our roles openly in the same way that this role's been advertised. So, you know, we certainly welcome anybody to apply who's interested in working with us, and yeah.
Because we do have quite a flat structure, and we know that people, we're not the size of an organisation that will provide loads of different like promotional opportunities, because we're really flat. But what we do consciously know and sort of plan for is that we want people to really get a brilliant experience while they're here. So even like, of course, we would love people to stay once they develop, but if there's, you know, we've seen in our own, in different organisations where we've been at before, where roles can be created for a person and it doesn't fulfil a business need, and that can make things really tricky in going forward. So what we want to do is just make sure people have a brilliant experience, have what they need to be able to fulfil the role really well, and are developing at the same time, if that's something that they would like, to take them on to the next step. And maybe if there's an opportunity with us, that's with us, but we're really proactive in supporting, as Lisa was saying, people's learning journeys to encourage them to follow the path that they would like to.
I'd like to add to that a bit, if I may. So I come from a background where I was an EA many years ago, and I was a career temp for a long time. So I undertook a lot of contract positions and kind of short-term roles. And what I can say is that this is extremely useful for skills development. You know, you grow very quickly, you learn a lot of new skills. So even if there isn't a role at the end of it, even if this is only a certain time frame that you're working with us, this develops your CV, it develops your skill set, it builds resilience, it builds a culture within yourself of being a fast responder and being able to adapt to different systems and things anyway. So you would definitely be getting something out of it, whether there's a role at the end of it or not. These kinds of roles are extremely good for your CV. They're very, very good for skills building.
lovely, thank you. There is another question, but I think there's just going to be a little bit more detail around it. So shall we move on and again just have questions as they come through? I think, Tanya, it's over to you now, I believe. Is that right, or
That's correct.
I've got that wrong?
So I have just recently joined the charity. I'm in my second week, and I've been through this application process quite recently. What I wanted to start with is the submission of the 3 questions, just to say this really is your chance to differentiate yourself from other applicants. In traditional recruitment, you have a role that is advertised and so many CVs and cover letters come through that are extremely standard. And, it's very difficult you're looking at a set of skills on a CV and everybody's much of a muchness. There's you wouldn't be applying if you didn't have the skill set. So these 3 questions, this methodology, it really gives you a chance to shine. I would advise setting a substantial time aside in your day to really look at those and think about how you'd like to put yourself across, what makes you different, what makes you better, what makes you more suitable to the role than other people who've got the same skill sets as you, because it's quite a competitive market. So take the time to do that. They really are a gift. And I found it a very useful exercise. And when I did it, I actually learned a lot about myself in the process, which is something that I didn't expect to do. So I would strongly advise spending the time on that, because that's what's going to make you stand out. We'll be doing the shortlisting the week of the 6th of November. So after that, Emma will be letting you know if you are shortlisted. And interviews will be in person at our offices on the 22nd of November. So if possible, kind of keep that day free in your calendars for potential interview times. The reason we have the interviews at the offices is that everybody has equal opportunity, and it's often a lot better. It's an easier way to come across, and to get involved in discussions than it is online quite a lot of the time. It also mitigates any risks with, Wi-Fi issues and glitches and not coming across properly on technology. You will be provided interview questions and the exercise and the test ahead of your interview, so at least a week. You can use this to prepare for the interview. So it gives you calm space in which to really formulate your answers and think about what they would be. What I would say about that is, we all have different anxieties at different stages of the interview process, and it can be quite a challenging period because some people are better on paper and they're really good at putting themselves across in the written format. Some people perform better at interview stage and in a verbal format, and some people perform really well in a test scenario. So, you've got all 3 of those sections, and so one of them is likely to cause you anxiety and one of them is likely to be your strength. So you have the opportunity to prepare and to put your best foot forward. The other thing is, if you are invited to interview, to please let Emma know if you have any reasonable adjustment requirements, whatever that might be, and we will certainly accommodate those for you. And after interview, this is a 1 interview round process. There's not going to be a second interview, and we will aim to notify you within 48 hours on your success or not. I think that's everything. Have I covered everything?
I think so. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so again, just asking if there are any other questions that you would like answered. I can ask those on your behalf. I know somebody was asking something about work timing, but I've just asked for the question to be asked again, just so I can have a little bit of a better understanding of that actual question.
While you're typing that, oh, sorry, go on, Faye.
No, I was just going to say, maybe if we can just get an overview on what the general sort of week or day will look like for this person for the work timing.
Yes.
So our core hours are 10 till 4. Is that right? Yeah.
No, it's 9:30 till 4.
9:30 till 4. There you go. Which I abide by. So yeah, those are our core hours. We work, but sort of generally people are working sort of 9 till 5, 5:30ish, depending on their schedules. If you're working in the office, the building, which is a lovely building actually, you'll see that when you come into for the interview. The building closes at 5:30, which is really good, I think, because it means that we don't have that culture where people are staying late, and we encourage people to, make use of their evenings and switch off. So we have a few routines, I guess. So on a Monday morning at 9:30, we have a whole organisation online hello, which is sort of, how's your weekend? How are you? What are you up to this week? Is there anything that anyone needs from each other? And that's quite really informal, and it's nice to just catch up there with people. We have, you'll have sort of regular one-to-ones or check-ins with your line manager. So that would be Rebecca, but then in this role you would have, we can work out which is the best way for us to communicate with you specifically. So for me, with our current EA who's gone on maternity leave, we have one-to-ones, a quick one-to-one every week, but then we'll also chat about stuff on email throughout the week as well. And I think you work more on email, is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm more of an emailer, and what I will do is, email if I need something done. I do my level best to give a clarity about when I need to have it done by, but a lot of things in my diary, I'm kind of like, I just need that meeting organised.
Yeah.
Either as soon as possible, or well, as soon as it can be fitted in the diary. So it's that kind of thing. And I again, our current EA once a month, once a week, just to go through what's ongoing, any questions, and just to kind of cover off anything that needs to be covered off. And I'm happy with like virtual or face to face. It just depends on whether the things align. But I think Rebecca meets
on a Monday.
Yeah,
and the weekend.
And her preference always would be to do that face to face.
Yeah.
And Rebecca has not only the diary management, but also I think her email management.
Yeah.
So that's quite a large part of the job, to kind of just triage what is coming through. And manage it, and let Rebecca know and brief her on what she needs to pick up when, and priorities and things. Whereas we're more self-sufficient in terms of our diary, so you're not managing our inbox that actively unless Ellie's on holiday or something.
We also try, the three of us, Rebecca, Lisa and I, also meet up to every so often to make sure that we are aligned with how much workload is coming this role's way, because we don't want ever there to be a position where we're throwing a million things at you and you're getting hit by all sides, but the three of us don't have a view of what that looks like for you. So we try and make sure that we are aligned on what the objectives are for the sort of 6 to 12 months ahead, but also like the workload matches your capacity as well, and would always encourage you to talk to us about that if something is out of kilter. Lunch you take, that's we're all grown up, so you take that when you need to, and it's not necessarily prescribed. We have the monthly team meeting with all of us. There may be meetings that you need to do the minutes for, so we have a joint ops working group. So that's where the senior leadership team of the charity, us, meets with a number of the senior leadership team of the trust to just talk about different things coming up and understand what's going on for each organisation at that level. And so that's one of the areas that you'll do minutes for. And you'll be part of helping us make sure that we're following through the governance that we need to make sure that the charity is run well, and working with Tanya on that as well.
You know, I've just remembered what we forgot is that every Monday we have our senior leadership team meeting.
That's
Which the EA helps us make sure our
That's
whole
true.
agenda is in place. And obviously we need that help. You can see
Yeah.
the fact that we've forgotten it already. But also takes the minutes to make sure that we follow up on that action. So that's every Monday. And that meeting varies in length. Sometimes we also have a much longer all-day meeting, but you wouldn't necessarily be doing the whole all-day meeting.
Yeah. Every month we have an action day, which we've introduced a little while ago. It used to be like once a quarter, perhaps, or every 2 months, but it's now every month. And that is where we try to not have internal meetings or emails, so that, because we know there's a lot flying around and we want people to not feel overwhelmed. So we do that every a Tuesday, I can't remember which week it is, every month. And we try our best to not have internal meetings, or to use to plan that time to get the stuff done, so that to-do lists get ticked off, and so that people don't get the distraction of emails, which can sometimes be the case. That's really useful. Does that answer the question about working times?
I think it does. It definitely covers most areas of that. So thank you. That's great.
There was somebody that has just joined very recently. So to that person, please, it doesn't matter if there's a repetition of what's already been said. If you do have anything, somebody is typing at the moment. So if you do have anything, yes, the person who asked the question about timing has said that, yes, thank you, that has covered that. And for the person who has just joined, if there is anything, feel free while we're beginning to think about possibly coming to an end. But if there are any questions, fire away. It's all good.
And again, I know Emma mentioned this, but this session is recorded, so we will trim it down to the main session, and then it can be sent out to you to have a listen to from the beginning.
Yeah. Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah, please do use this time now until the closing date. So yeah, please do do ask any questions at whatever time you like. We're really, like, as Tanya really well put before, like going through a job application and interview and all of that is like not a natural environment for people to be in, and it can be stressful. And so what we try and do throughout the whole process is we've put a lot of time into trying to make you feel at ease as much as possible. We want you to know that we really value people from all different experiences and backgrounds, and that's why we want it to be a really equitable process. So we've removed, we've spent a lot of time looking at removing biases, but we also want to make it as least, is that the right way of putting it, as like to just so that you're as comfortable and that you can perform your best. We've all been in interviews where we've thought at the end, oh man, I wish I'd said that, or I wish I'd done this. So we're trying to like just make it easy. That's why we give the interview questions beforehand. That's why we do this for you to ask any questions. We really want you to just perform your best and create an environment where we do that. And we hope that that's not just for the interview, as for the recruitment process, but when you come into the role as well, there's no point in looking different. So yeah, please do put the effort in, but we'll try and utilize the sort of the things that we've put in place so that you can really do that, so that you can perform your best.
Yeah, we want everybody who has contact with us and whether to really be their best selves. Because we know there's a lot of people out there with a wealth of gifts, and there will be a time when those gifts are the right gifts for us, and we might be the right place for you to shine. So, again, very keen for us to see everybody in their most comfortable form, showing their best to us.
Whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Fabulous.
If I can just pick up on something that Elvie said, that beyond the recruitment process, so having just joined the charity, I can confirm that it is a really lovely space to work, and there are extremely open lines of communication all the time. So while there is a lot of learning that's going to need to happen, and while you're getting your feet under the desk and kind of getting to grips with ways of working and getting to know everybody and the job and the function and also all the context, everybody is very open about answering questions, being helpful, pointing you in the right direction. So, you know, you are left to be able to manage your own workload and not be micromanaged. However, you are, you know, encouraged to ask as many questions and to kind of learn from anybody as and when you need it. So it is a very collaborative and very transparent, actually, organisation.
Lovely. Great. I think that probably can lead us to the end of the webinar. I don't see any more questions coming through, but there may be a few that I contact you about.
Yeah. Yes, please. To ask us anything that comes, Linda, because I know the questions come after you've had a bit of, well, for me anyway, they always come when I'm having a bit of a listen, and I'm later walking home and I'm thinking,
yes.
Yeah.
And certainly for those who weren't able to attend today, who are going to have the recording, there's bound to be a handful of other questions. So yeah, lovely.
Brilliant.
Great,
Well, thank you for everyone that
us.
joined, and thank you everyone at the Maudsley Charity for hosting today. It's been, again, a very informative session, so thank you very much.
Yeah, fabulous. Have a
Thank
great
you.
afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, it looks like there might possibly just be somebody typing. No, yes, no, just a thank you. Just another thank you. Lovely. Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.